While progressing in life, at times we feel stuck due to the lack of knowledge of how to manage our time well. Deciding how to prioritize the different facets of daily self management gets hectic, whether it's for school students, university students, or working people. The lack of motivation, a great amount of workload, and the expectations at the academic front, in college, or at one's workplace is draining for an individual. Under such circumstances, a helping hand can instruct and support us in setting the right direction for our goals. At MentorMitr, we engage with individuals wherever they are in their journey of career development and help them learn life skills to manage complex situations while enhancing their potential and performance to optimum. Our involvement helps individuals to set the right goals and create options by following an objective process, thereby enabling them to define and manage their priorities. We help them generate self awareness and teach them how to prioritize their time effectively. We also enhance their emotional quotient with techniques like mind mapping and dealing with success and failure to reinforce their goals and processes, while also grooming them with soft skills that are necessary for the competitive selection process, thus making them confident and prepared for success. While progressing in life, at times we feel stuck due to the lack of knowledge of how to manage our time well. Deciding how to prioritize the different facets of daily self management gets hectic, whether it's for school students, university students, or working people. The lack of motivation, a great amount of workload, and the expectations at the academic front, in college, or at one's workplace is draining for an individual. Under such circumstances, a helping hand can instruct and support us in setting the right direction for our goals. At MentorMitr, we engage with individuals wherever they are in their journey of career development and help them learn life skills to manage complex situations while enhancing their potential and performance to optimum. Our involvement helps individuals to set the right goals and create options by following an objective process, thereby enabling them to define and manage their priorities. We help them generate self awareness and teach them how to prioritize their time effectively. We also enhance their emotional quotient with techniques like mind mapping and dealing with success and failure to reinforce their goals and processes, while also grooming them with soft skills that are necessary for the competitive selection process, thus making them confident and prepared for success.
Good evening, everyone. Uh, so I will be taking you guys through the MentorMitr application. So the first thing is the questionnaire. So we before you come to a counseling session with a mentor, there are specific screens, specific templates which you have to fill to let the mentor know what your goals and everything. So questionnaire is a template where we ask you some 20 to 25 questions to know about yourself. And so tracks and options is where you get to choose the tracks which are present, and this is to mentor know in which tracks your interest mentor will guide you through which tracks are important and which might work out for you based on your interests. So after submitting this and options, there is a sports track. So if you are interested in sports, you will be able to answer these questions. You can answer about your favorite sports, what are your achievements in those favorite sports. There are 5 questions designed to know about your sports skills. And after the sports track, there is a college track. This is to know where you wanted to join, like up a specific, what is the name of the college you wanted to join, what is the syllabus the college needs, and the selection criteria for the college, and what do you need to achieve the required stuff, and what is the thing you need to improve. So after that, there are priorities. So this is to let the mentor know what your priorities are. So you could have different types of priorities. We have a 4 different priorities. So you could click on here and you could enter your priorities. Let's say you have a priority to get a good score. So and let's say it's an important priority and it's an urgent priority. So there are types of priorities. So there are 4 different types: important and not urgent, important, urgent, not important, non-urgent. So you could select any of them based on your requirement, and then you could add it. So here you'll be able to see all your previously entered priorities. This is to let the mentor know what your priorities are when you go to the counseling session. So after the priorities, there are goals and affirmations. So this is where you enter affirmations. So and all of your goals are entered here, and all of your affirmations are entered. uh, you could add your activities. So activities are basically what you do in the do in your regular exercise, sports, movies. You could add your own, define your own activities which you do in a day. And then in the weekly timetable, what you do is you should define how your weeks looks like. So before going to the counseling session, the mentor will want to know how your week looks like. So let's say on Monday, as you see here, I have 3 samples. So on Monday, for example, you want to add activities from school. So you add that school, and then the whole week you'll be able to define how your week looks like, how your tuesday of the week. So these are the templates which you will be filling before going into the counseling session. And then once you fill all these templates, you are ready to go to the counseling session for a mentor. So you can click on here and you can schedule a session with the mentor. So there are different types of sessions, and you could select any one of those sessions. You have 1 hour counseling session, short discussions and everything. So you could select one of those sessions, and you could fill the date, like the date and timing of your sessions. Let's say I want a session tomorrow. I select the date. You see the time slots which are available. You can select the time slots. You can enter your name. You can enter your email, and you enter your and you can confirm your meeting. So once your meeting is confirmed, the MentorMitr team will get back to you on mail. So that's how you schedule a session. So after you schedule a session, once after the session, the mentor, if you have any feedback about the mentor, about the session, you could give us feedback and we could improve on that. And after the session, what you'll do is you will be giving the app your data, based on which we'll be getting reports. We'll be assessing your performance and everything. So you could add your own subjects. Like if you're a school student or a college student, you have different courses. So you could enter your course name, and you could enter your target in that course. Let's say you want to get 95%, and you could set your own targets in those subjects. And in the time tracker, you'll be letting us know what you're doing each day. So let's say on at 20 right now. I am giving a mentor myth presentation. So you could define that in your activity and then come here and select that from your activity. Okay, so you'll be giving us all this data, and once we have all this data each week based on what you're doing, we'll be giving you the reports on your email. So these are the outputs which you'll be getting from the mentors. So when you go to a mentor after the completion, he'll be looking at your time. So let's say you are spending 10 hours on your activity, so he decides how much time you should be spending on different activities in each week. So let's say the mentor wanted to spend your week like this. So you'll have an idea of how to distribute your time. So this is a bar graph showing that. And after the session, the mentor will be giving you suggestions, like the summary of the session. What are the suggestions you should be following and stuff. And in the grade section, you can enter your scores on each in each subject. Let's say in maths, I had an exam today and I got 90 out of 100. You could have a record of that, and when you go to the mentor again, he'll be having a record of that. And we have a depiction of how you're performing in each subject. So you can see how the we'll have a bar graph so that you can see how your percentages are going. So these are for a working professional. There are the different. So the mentor will be able to fill a questionnaire where he'll tell us about his or her work life and everything related to work and everything. So similarly, his or her own priorities and goals and affirmations, and a weekly timetable. Let's say a working professional has go to work and family time and stuff. So he'll be able to have his own weekly timetable defined for himself. So remaining everything would be the same for the school student and a working professional.
Before we begin, I would like to go over the steps to avail the e-certificate. I would like to state the steps to avail the e-certificate. You are required to attend the full webinar. Once you see the thank you displayed on the screen, there will appear a link to the Google attendance form in the chat box. Click to mark your attendance and get the feedback form emailed. Fill the questionnaire that you receive on your mail for the details. Follow our page on Instagram and Facebook. If the above stated steps are followed, an e-certificate will be automatically mailed to you. I would like to begin with an introduction of MentorMitr. MentorMitr is a mentoring organization. Our aim is to guide individuals wherever they are in their journey of career development and help them learn life skills to manage complex situations while enhancing their academic performance to optimal. Our involvement helps students to set the right goals and enable them to define and manage their priorities as well as enhance their EQ. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on Manage Lifestyle in the Pandemic. This session will be led by established professional Mr. Anil Sharma. Please feel free to leave your questions in the chat box and we will try to answer them. Mr. Anil Sharma. Mr. Anil passionately and compassionately works with youngsters, mentoring them and coaching them, learning about them and learning from them. His learning is understanding how Gen Y and Gen Z think from observation and working with them and not from books. Anil has rich corporate experience in leadership positions. His background is in engineering and MBA. I would now like to request Mr. Anil to enlighten our audience.
Hi everybody. As introduced, Anil is my name. So I'm not going to lead the session. Honestly, I'm going to moderate a panel of our lead speakers today. And uh, before they come on board, I wish all our audience a very happy New Year globally. And I hope the new year brings something new to you. You decide to do something new with your life. In fact, as I was wishing everybody happy new year, and everybody was wishing me happy new year, somebody asked me, how do I change, how does the new year change my life? And for a moment I thought about it, and I just said to myself, how am I going to change my life? So tell me, if these kinds of thoughts are going through mind. I'm looking at YouTube, I'm looking at the chat box, and I want to see how many of you have decided to take a call on that you're going to change something for good in this year. You know, and when I was reflecting, I just thought, new year has come. So, I see some energy, but I don't see so many responses yet. So maybe this webinar, maybe after that, maybe one of our lead speakers will say something which touches you. Maybe you find something in chat box which touch you to decide to change something about yourself. And I just thought that it is important. uh, what happens to you and your life is very internal, right? And the rest of a lot of it is happening externally. And now, how do you respond to what is happening to you is one way of dealing with life. The other is how you look outward, how you look, how you gonna change life, how you gonna change life of others connected with you, a cause or a purpose, or is it a financial goal or a goal for a career, business, I don't know, reading, vacation. Why not think of those? Think what could change. And you know what you do this year, what you do in next 7 days, 10 days, 15 days could have an everlasting impact on your life in your future to come 3, 5, 10 years from now. And so, I mean, I think it is not a question time just to decide. It's a moment in time. You may take a pause, reflect, and change something about. You want to change something for good in yourself. Set a different goal. Change a habit. I decided to change some, and I've done it many times, and a few times I've succeeded. So, well, setting a goal is not bad, first of all. And if you fail, you have another chance, not next year, next day, next week, next month. And how many of you want to take that chance? Say yes in the chat box if you do that. And As we went through pandemic, in fact, I've been speaking on MentorMitr platform regularly, and throughout the pandemic, I think MentorMitr association with its audience has remained very thick, and I've been seeing the chat box with, with people, what people say, and as we reach New Year, new month, January of 2021, I see that from being overwhelmed with pandemic, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, we are now a little underwhelmed. We look at future with hope, and how our lifestyle has changed in between, and how it has evolved physically, mentally, emotionally, maybe spiritually, is what our lead speakers are going to talk today. And where does it lead us to? We can decide. In fact, I encourage a lot of our international audience and audience from here also to write to on the chat box if they want to be on the panel, if they observed something, if they have something to share, a story of their own or somebody they know. I think that will be a good experience sharing, and we'll encourage that. And without wasting much of our panelists' time, I would request Nidhi to introduce them one by one. And as we start the process, for the benefit of audience, we have some key areas of uh, pandemic concern addressed, and some going forward, how everything is going to help. So, Nidhi, if you can introduce our speakers.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening our audience about today's topic. Now, let us move on to our panel members. Our panel members for today are Miss Ishpreet Kaur, Miss Rachel Jayaseelan, Miss Hrishika Awasthi, and Miss Khushi Jain, with our speaker, Mr. Anil Sharma. Our first panel member is Miss Ishpreet Kaur. Miss Ishpreet helps people with their mindset, relationships, and mental health using the law of attraction or spirituality. She finished her MBA in 2015 and later went ahead to pursue MSc in luxury brand management marketing across 3 countries. She has been practicing and successfully implementing the law of attraction in her life for the last 7 years and has manifested so much in her life at all levels. For the same reason, she is extremely passionate about helping people believe that they are the absolute creators of their reality. Our second panel member is Miss Rachel Jayaseelan. Miss Rachel is currently pursuing her doctorate in psychology and she graduated with a master's in clinical psychology and an MPhil from Christ University, Bangalore. Her work is currently in the domain of development of assessments as a part of her research. Rachel has been certified in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, career counseling, cognitive analytic therapy, and master level hypnosis, and hence follows a more eclectic approach to counseling, which has helped maximize benefits towards a client. With respect to practice in particular, she consults specifically for psychological and educational assessments at the Reach Clinic, Bangalore. Having worked with close to 1,000 clients in the past 3 years, her area of expertise is screening and diagnostic testing for developmental delays, LD, ADHD, behavioral and emotional disorders in children. She has conducted more than 70 workshops for students on a variety of topics, such as effective communication skills, decision making strategies, dealing with anxiety, depression, and, and healthy interpersonal relationships. Having been a part of Rotaract, the youth wing of Rotary International, for 12 years, she believes in developing need based strategies to bring about social and educational change. Our third panel member, Ms. Hrishika Awasthi. Miss Hrishika, the co founder of Emodite and author of Dewdrops on Ice, Hrishika is a graduate in psychology from LSR and is currently pursuing her post graduation from DU. She is a published author, a trained dancer, and now a young entrepreneur. In addition to mental health advocacy, she is passionate about bringing psychology into the mainstream and making therapy simplified and accessible for everyone. To this extent, she has delivered multiple tasks in the past year to achieve her goal of making people self sufficient in terms of their mental health. She is the co founder of Emodite, where she aims to bring happiness into education by focusing on social and emotional learning and life skills among school students. Our fourth and last panel member is Miss Khushi Jain. Miss Khushi is currently pursuing a master's program in counseling psychology from Christ University, Bangalore, India. Being a counseling psychologist in training, she has a strong desire to work with people, understand human behavior, and help people give their best in all domains of life. She is also a mental health advocate doing her bit to destigmatize and normalize therapy while providing psychoeducation and advocating for mental health and well being. I would like to welcome all our panel members and I would like to ask Anil sir to begin moderating the session.
So before I do that, thank you very much, all our panel members, to be here. Welcome. And Ananya, I hope you have unshared the screen. Ishpreet, Rachel, Khushi, and Hrishika, if you could all unmute yourself and be on camera all at the same time so that we could have a conversation. And, hi, everybody. And very good to have. Uh, very educated and very well aware of the subject matter. And I see somebody missing still. So okay, we have all of them. Great. So, well, can we see all of them together? Are we able to, or the audience? Okay. So, uh, as we did introduce first, second, third, fourth, I would say all of them are first. And as we take the session forward, I would ask Khushi the first question. If she can tell simply yet significantly, what are the takeaways from pandemic?
Hi, sir. Thank you. So, I'm sorry, the question was simple yet significant takeaways from the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for me, so first, before I start talking about my takeaways, I just want the audience to know that it's okay if they did not have any major takeaways. I don't want them to feel bad. It's okay. This year was tough for all of us. And it's okay if we did not have any significant or major great takeaways from this year. But a few takeaways that I had, and I believe a lot of us also had, was a lot of us started prioritizing our mental health. There were a lot of active discussions on mental health. So that is one takeaway from the pandemic. Another is to find joy in the simple things, because this year a lot of us were kind of had to spend a lot of time with our families and focus a lot on simple things, and that made me realize that life really can be simple, and we sometimes unnecessarily complicate our lives, and this year made me realize that we can find joy in simple things. Another one was to take things one day at a time. I usually was a person, I used to plan things well in advance. I always had like the next 5-year plan, 10-year plan. And last year, all my plans, nothing worked out as I had planned. Where I wanted to go for my master's, I wasn't able to go. To the master's school I wanted to go to. So I realized that things never not always go as planned, and that is okay. And I learned to take things one day at a time, be more present and mindful where I am. So that was one takeaway. Another one was to give my old hobbies a new life. So I actually made a post on this for my Instagram. So I'm just like talking about that. Yeah. So I also I had a lot of hobbies from my childhood. Like I enjoyed painting, but because of school and college, I did not find a lot of time to paint. So I was able to last year made me kind of rekindle those past interests. So that was another takeaway. So these were a few of my takeaways from the pandemic.
Thank you, Khushi. I think a lot of us can relate to you, and many of us have felt that life can be much simpler with less frills, maybe, which we have created for ourselves. And my next question will be to Rachel, if she could extend it what Khushi said, and tell us how to overcome fear in uncertainties like this.
All right. I think Kushi covered a lot of really good points about the takeaways that the pandemic, that we have at least come out from the pandemic with. You've asked about dealing with uncertainties and dealing with fear. One of the I think none of us were prepared for this when it came to the pandemic, and it brought about a lot more fears than we even knew that it possibly existed. We were experiencing fears of loss, which were, it exhibited in several ways. Now, when it comes to fear of uncertainties, I think that's one of the biggest origins of anxiety itself, the fear of the unknown or the unfamiliar. And we don't have answers. And what do we do when we don't have answers? We go searching for the answers. And when we can't get those answers, we try to create those answers in our head. And that leads to the overthinking that also creates a lot of anxiety when we try to come up with all possibilities to about the future that we cannot see yet. Now we are all afraid of, loss of control, losing control over our lives and not knowing, like Kushimo talked about the master's program that she wanted. We all have plans, we have dreams, and then all of those answers are taken away, and then you're left with what next. This question of what next is very fearsome for a lot of people, right? I think one of the best takeaways that I have had, I think Kushi has also mentioned it, is taking one day at a time and to slow things down. We are living in such a fast competitive world, and we are used to, 5-year plans and 10-year plans, which all just flew away in the blink of an eye. So to take one day at a time, and also to be aware of, more about focusing on things that you have under your control rather than focusing excessively on things that are not under your control, right? We tend to get these anxieties when um, we tend to focus on things which are not under our control, and that leads to the overthinking because we don't have answers for things that are not under our control. So taking one day at a time really helps when it comes to dealing with uncertainties. And journaling, it also helps a lot because you kind of restrict the type of fears that you have when you are able to write it down concretely, put it down to the specifics rather than having this free floating anxiety that goes about in your head. So that's one of the ways you can also deal with uncertainties. Focus on, I think, more grounding in the now than fear of the future. That is something that really helps, which means I have to learn to enjoy what's happening right now rather than focusing on things which I do not know will happen tomorrow or day after. Even let's say you are, I mean, Kushi spoke about painting. Now, if you're focusing on the painting and I'm really able to enjoy the process of painting or of making music, or when I go out for a walk, if I'm able to actually embrace it, or am I actually taking a walk and thinking about what's going to happen next week or 2 weeks down the line? Now, that's the uncertainty. So if you're able to focus on the here and now, ground yourself, be mindful and enjoy what is happening on a day-to-day basis, I think that's one of the best ways in which you can deal with uncertainties. I hope, Mr. Ranil, that kind of narrowed down this very broad question.
So it sure does, and yes, I like what you said, and I think it is it even in a lot of mental health practices, but also management practices. globally, the leaders or managers think of working on areas under control rather than area beyond control. And I think it's very critical to whatever one wants to achieve and remove uncertainty of thinking. You know, the act of God is not under control. The spread of virus is not under control. And yeah, I mean, even in contracts for organization, there is a force majeure clause which talks about when everything goes wrong, the contract is void. So, well, a lot of contracts have gone void this year. Ishpreet, that brings me to you and ask you if you could rely on three things that could transform your average days into ones with motivation, positivity, and happiness, what would they be?
All right. Thanks, Mr. Anil. I think I'm going to answer this question in a little unusual way. So, like, we all know the everyday things that we talk about, right? To do such things. I mean, to bring about a little more presence of mind, to bring about a little more happiness and joy in our days, which is, things like meditation or, stuff like that. But I think I want to focus on some things that are a little different. You may or may not have, the audience may or may not have heard about it. Um, but before I even go about telling those things, I just want to emphasize on the fact that sometimes we sort of get caught up in the fact that we need to be positive all the time, or we need to be happy all the time, right? And that's far away from the truth. It's all right to have your meltdowns, it's all right to have your breakdowns, but it's important to realize that you don't need to be stuck in that position. You don't need to be in that position and be consumed by it. It's all right to feel it. Like if you have to cry it out, and then move on. It's about how you bounce back and not stay in that particular situation. So, on that note, the first thing that I feel can help in getting you towards happier days and a better headspace. So, the number one thing that I rely on is visualization. So, it's a very powerful practice. When you visualize something, and why I believe that it brings about a lot more happiness in your life is when you visualize something, you are basically getting all excited about the things that you desire and the things that you want and that you're moving towards and heading towards in life in your subconscious. So, right now, in this moment, if I'm just like, I know that I'm not where I need to be, let's say, but if I can just sit down for 5 minutes and if I can focus on the feeling of actually having those things accomplished, I'm going to have that feeling of happiness, of joy, and of excitement, even if it's just for a few moments. And I'm going to come back to this later as to why this is so important and how significant this is and what it does to us. But as a matter of fact, the thing is that when you visualize, you sort of have that clarity in your mind. You sort of have those little moments of joy, and it gives a little kick to your days. At the beginning, in the morning, if you do something like that, right, it sort of makes a path for the rest of your day. The second thing that I really believe in is intention setting for the day. Now, when I say intention setting, I'm not talking just about the goals, the big huge goals that we have in our life. It could be something as simple and as little as just intending to laugh a little more today. And again, I'll tell you what it does. When you have a specific intention like that at the beginning of your day, your subconscious is sort of, it has that thing at the back of its mind, and it sort of reminds you in different ways. So in a situation where usually your reaction would have been a little remorseful or something, at that point your subconscious is going to remind you of that intention. So it could be a big intention or it could be a little intention. When you divide these intentions into small little bits, so instead of saying that I intend to be a successful person, or in the next 10 years this is what I achieve, or this is what I want to achieve, just if we just focus on what comes in the next 24 hours, if we can just chuck it down into little bite-sized pieces and only focus on what we intend for the next 24 hours in terms of feelings, in terms of achieving something. It could be a little goal or anything for that matter, but just like I said, just boiling it down to little pieces, can really bring a lot of clarity, a lot of direction in the days that you spend. And the third thing is, so I'm not sure again how many of you would have heard of it, but there is something called as gratitude dance. Okay. And what I mean by that is, um, some people, believe in putting different alarms throughout their day. So let's say in every 1 hour or every 2 hours. And what they do is we tend to get caught up in so many things in our everyday life. I think we start in the morning, and sometimes, most of the times actually, we don't even realize where has our day gone by. It's just in that work loop. It's just in that constant loop of rushing and here and there and past in the future. We are not really present at all. What this gratitude dance lets us do is that every 1 hour or 2 hours, you take a pause, right? You take 5 minutes out. And when that alarm rings, you're going to say the 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for in that moment, okay? Not the things, the big things, just in that moment. Let's say if I had like a lively chat, let's say, with someone that second, I'm going to be grateful for that in that moment. And I'm going to think about those things, and I'm going to play some nice music, and I'm just going to dance my heart out. And it's going to raise my vibes in that moment. It's going to help me just interrupt that pattern that I was in that particular day, right? And get me out of that zone of just working or that anxiety or whatever it is. And just, it's about interrupting that pattern, like I said, every 2 hours. And it's such a high vibe activity and practice to do. And it brings so much joy. I can't think of one person who literally danced like a crazy person and did not feel happy about it, or did not have a smile or laugh on his face, right? So yeah, I think these are the three things that I absolutely swear by and absolutely practice as well every day.
Good. So a different perspective, but sure. I mean, uh, one thing definitely is a success principle, which is being grateful for what you have rather than worrying about what you don't. Because it is said, more you detest what you don't have, it will be what you have will be taken away. More you're grateful for what you have will be compounded and increase. So gratitude is one practice which has created miracles, and I am myself a living proof of that. I'm what being grateful can create, and I encourage. And we got some very good points. I would appreciate if our audience also gives some response to what they liked about what Rachel said, or what Ishpreet said, and what Khushi said. We'd like to see what do you really get out of these webinars, if you are regular at it or you are here for the first time. While I ask now our next question to our next panelist, Hrishika, we would like to know from you how can taking care of our mental health lead to better physical health, for example.
Yes. So I think when we heard what Rachel had to say, or Ishpreet or Khushi had to say, one thing was very significant out of it, that all of us, all of our takeaways were related to our mental health. They were all related to how we feel about ourselves and our personal growth or personal experiences during the pandemic. And that is just one very significant example of how something which was actually very physical. Coronavirus, COVID 19 was very physical to us because it was a physical disease. How mentally we were, affected by it. So, let me take an example. Usually, we think of lifestyle as three very basic things. We think of lifestyle in terms of nutrition, exercise, and sleeping. That's what we mean when we say we want to be healthy. And what we miss out on is our emotional health and our mental health. But our emotions actually have an impact on all three of it. So, in movies, if you see, even though it's exaggerated, movies show that whenever women go through breakup or men are angry, they eat scoops of ice cream or they get heart attacks more frequently, men, right? Even though this is exaggerated, but our feelings do play a role. So I want all of you to think about a time when you were feeling extremely stressed, when you were overthinking, like Miss Rachel said. Did you really feel like getting out of your bed, or did you really feel like doing anything productive that day? No, right? Because those are your days. Those are days you just want to sit, you want to be with yourself, and you want to feel all your emotions. And that is the correct way, right? I mean, you need to feel all your emotions. But you can see a drastic way of how when you are feeling happy, how your day looks like, and when you are feeling sad, how your day looks like. Those are completely opposite days. And that is why I think all of our lifestyle definitions should include a component of emotional health and feelings. In the introduction as well, Mr. Anil mentioned that during the start of the lockdown, we were all feeling very overwhelmed. We were feeling kind of hopeless. We were kind of feeling like, what's going on? There was a lot of fear. Now, when you look at it, there's not a lot of fear anymore. People have grown attuned to the situation. And you can also see the difference, right? During the start of the pandemic, all of us were sitting inside. We were not doing anything productive. We had lost our motivation to even exercise or eat good food. We just wanted junk food, and we hoarded ourselves with Maggie and everything, especially the youngsters. Now, when the fear has reduced, we are back to our normal selves. Well, most of us, and we're back to the kind of lifestyle, the healthy lifestyle that we wanted to. So it's very important for all of us to actually take care of our mind, because taking care of our mind will lead to taking care of our bodies. And that is what research has also shown from time to time. I mean, depression and anxiety disorders, they all have an impact on your immunity. They actually lower your immunity down. And that is why I personally think of lifestyle as being content and accepting your emotions, whether they are sad or whether they are happy, and integrating them to lead a more intentional life, like Mrs. Preet also talked about. So, yes, I do think that taking care of your mental health has a huge impact on your physical health.
Thank you, Rishika. And I think, you know, being healthy or being fit has been more to say. People always had emotional health as unstated priority, maybe, but they've been always over occupied in their
Yep.
mind rather than their bodies. And the pandemic has brought it into the forefront. I would say that, you know, we as a society, not only in India, all over the world, have realized that when you get locked down in a room and you can't do much, how you work with your mind makes you the person you can be. And you can overcome a lot of physical hurdles if you're mentally fine. So, very good point.
Exactly.
And I would, you know, extend it further to ask Rachel, that is another degree to where a human being can take his mental health or thinking to. How to manage overthinking, Rachel?
Yeah. Um, all right. I think the first, this is something which I've been hearing across when Rishika and Ishpreet was also talking about, is we are so afraid of fear itself. Right? We are afraid of fear. We fear, and then that can present in different ways. Now, we have realized that there is this space that we have up here also, especially during the lockdown. We have realized that um, there is this big box up here, and there is a lot of thoughts, and we didn't realize all of this existed probably till we encountered the lockdown. So I think one of the takeaways I've had, as well as when I work with clients, is that we have to learn to change this concept of fear that we have. Fear doesn't always have to be something that we run away from. If there is overthinking, as Rishika said, there has to be a balance or an acceptance of our negative as well as the positives as well. If we feel distressed, why do we have to overthink about the fact that we are having a bad day? Why not just embrace it and just accept it in the here and now, that okay, I'm a human being who has these emotions as well. So we have kind of been attuned to run away from fears rather than facing and working through them. So when it comes to overthinking as well, it's something that you don't have to be afraid of. One of the questions that commonly comes up when I take up webinars is, how do I deal with overthinking? Ma'am, I'm not able to sleep in the night 4 hours. I'm just lying in the bed thinking. So these are the kind of questions that regularly come up. So a couple of things that I've worked on clients with is also to it's actually worked quite well with some of them, is to put a timer also to how much you want to think. Okay, so if you really think you're spending 4 hours a day on thinking, how much time are you actually being proactive about what you're thinking about? You're just thinking for 4 hours, you're not acting on it. So you're just sitting and wondering, what if, what next, what if I lose my job? But then are you doing anything about it? So 4 hours of thinking and none towards the work itself. So put a timer on your thinking which says 15 minutes, I have it, it's done. I cannot think more about this. I've allocated enough time for this, and this can actually work. And to accept that you really can't predict the future, and to accept it that no matter how much you think and what you think about it, you can't predict the future. What you can do is to plan the best that you can for the here and now. Probably right now, given the lifestyle that we're getting into, we were calling it the new normal when we were initially getting into the pandemic, where a lot of our relationships are online and it's a very technology driven lives that we're trying to lead right now. So to live in the here and now, and you'll accept that we're not able to predict the future. A lot of our overthinking is about either the future or the past. It's very rarely about the present. We either regret about things that have happened in the day a couple of weeks back. Why did I say this? I shouldn't have said that. We're trying to change what has already happened, or we're trying to control what is going to happen long time down the future, that somehow we are forgetting to live in the present. Ishpreet also brought it up, just to take some time out in the day to be grateful for what's happening right now. Like even right now, let's say I'm on the show with you, or I'm interacting with you. About 6 months back, when I did not have my UPS, I would probably be fearing, okay, will the power go out in between? So I can actually think now, when Ishpreet was telling this, that, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I have a UPS. So I know that despite the power cuts in my area, that I'm well connected. So something small like this can actually put a smile to your face and reduce the amount of time that you spend in the past and the future, which is where overthinking is usually, based. Um, Gratitude is something that was already covered. And in that span of time, when you are in that loop of overthinking, right, you can put a timer, okay, but also to learn to distract yourself by certain activities which release emotions that can't coexist with anxiety. It's like saying you want to be sad and watch a comedy. You're going to laugh, and the sadness cannot coexist with that at the same time. Likewise, when you're feeling anxious, there are certain things which happens to you. Maybe you're not feeling confident, or you're feeling insecure, or you're feeling tremors, or you're feeling a rumbling sensation in the stomach. So to engage in activities that cannot coexist with that. So with some of my clients who have anxiety and they feel it in their stomachs, I would say go have a snack or a meal that you enjoy to change the sensation that kind of like moves inside. It doesn't always have to be negative, it can be positive as well. If you're someone who enjoys taking a hair spa, and if there's overthinking, go enjoy a relaxing feeling to your head. So it cannot coexist with anxiety. So small activities like this can actually distract you into something that is more positive than dwelling in the past or the future, where overthinking is actually based. So this is some of the pointers that I have to put across.
Thank you very much. I think these were some very hands-on points to deal with. Like Rachel said, we overemphasize fear of what we don't know. Yeah, and also that what kills fear is action. So massive action, taking action to overcome fear always helps. Reminding yourself of what can bring you happiness in that moment helps to create positive energy to last the day, that particular phase or the zone you are in. And yeah, I mean, I agree with Rachel that thinking very soon converts to overthinking. So if you are a thinking person, great. Don't keep thinking, just raise your hand and do something about it. I did see somebody raising hand on the chat board. Some guy named Ghansham raised red hand, and I didn't understand what it meant. If you could be more explicit or comment, it'll be good to know. And I think I did not want to even talk. I want to hear the panelists because they brought out the points which you are not bringing about on your chat. You should acknowledge you learned something from them, and I don't see that happening enough. So I would say that I'm really enjoying. And as I go to Khushi now, Khushi, how would you take care of? Uh, how would you think one should take care of mental health during pandemic or otherwise? Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of what I wanted to say, Miss Rachel has already covered. But yeah, I do have a few pointers. So one very important thing is to be mindful of the news that you consume because of so much negativity that is going around still. Although it is important to be updated with what is going on around you, it is also important to draw a boundary and limit yourself from too much negative news because all the news channels have this tendency to focus and exaggerate on the negatives of what is happening around. So that does affect our mental health. So it is important to be updated with what is going around, but at the same time, be mindful of how much and what kind of news you consume. That is one very important thing. And as Ms. Rachel already said, engage in active distractions. This does not mean being in denial with what is going around, but being actively distracted with doing small activities does help deal with a lot of overthinking. Because one thing about the entire pandemic and the disease was that the anxiety surrounding the disease is scarier than the disease itself. People don't know how things are going to pan out in the future, and they just go into this loop of negative thinking. So it's very important. So engaging in a few active distractions really helps take care of our mental health. Another thing is to move your body and stay active. As Ms. Hrishika also said, how our mental health is connected to our physical health. So moving your body, because we were isolated, we were, within the walls of our home. It was very difficult for us to stay active, but finding creative ways to stay active at home, doing yoga, meditation, although it's not physical activity, but that also helps us, deal with the clutter in our minds. Another very important thing is to maintain a routine, because a lot of us had a lot of unstructured time, and we still have a lot of unstructured time because everything we are doing from our home. It helps to maintain a routine. Wake up, even though you have online classes or you're working from home, wake up, have a bath, take a shower, or wear good clothes that makes you feel fresh and will set a good mood for you to work or study or just attend online classes. So maintaining a routine also helps. Another one is to think positive, but not to an extent that it becomes toxic positivity, as Miss Ishpreet also spoke about. So how we can stay positive is to celebrate our small wins, because again, with a lot of negativity going around, and it is the time is very difficult for a lot of us to process. So the small wins, just the fact that you woke up today and took a shower in the morning before you attending class, is something worth celebrating. So just look for these small things in your life, in your day, and celebrate that. That really helps be positive with all the negativity that is going around. Another thing that I already spoke about is taking one day at a time, be present in what is happening right now. And as Ms. Rachel also spoke about this, it helps us deal with overthinking. Just focus on what is happening right now and trust your future self to trust your future self to deal with whatever will come in your way later. So that is also another important thing. And the most important thing is to reach out to your loved ones. Although, so this very interesting thing that I read. So it was first called social distancing, but then World Health Organization later started emphasizing on physical distancing and not social distancing, because they said that it is important for us to stay socially connected with people, because that's very important. Although we are isolated, that does not mean we do not stay in touch with people socially and emotionally. Emotional connection with people is very important, especially during these times. So stay in touch with people, reach out to your loved ones, just pick up a phone, Zoom call, anything that works for you will really help you, will help with your mental health. So yeah, these are the few points I have.
Thanks, Khushi. And I think all of us can more and more agree to what you just said, that the transformation uh, throughout this pandemic has happened from being fearful, being physically constrained to mentally evolving. So I think this has been a journey throughout the world of the people, and becoming the overcomers. And I think the uh, generation which Khushi represents, Hrishika or Ishpreet or Rachel represents, is going to have stories to tell a couple of generations further of this time, because it is unprecedented. And you guys have led this revolution also of mental health, honestly, because it was a new area and it wasn't given due attention. At least I can remember 20 to 30 youngsters talking on mental health and related issues on MentorMitr platform itself. So I'm saying you are leading it very, very well. Thank you so much for that. And Ishpreet, that brings me to you to ask how to manage your emotions better so that you are able to deal with this overwhelming feeling and anxiety. Though you did cover partially there, I would just like you to elaborate further a bit.
Yes, yes, sure. So I think I again want to give a little different perspective here. Okay, so instead of just going about mentioning and saying how can you literally just control your emotions or manage your emotions, I'd like to explain first the science behind why are we not able to control and manage our emotions at the first place. I feel like people aren't even aware of the fact that when they do not manage their emotions, how it impacts their reality and how it is creating their reality. And since they aren't aware of how severe the consequences are, people don't take the effort and don't make that particular effort basically to do something about it and to be conscious about what you're feeling. So let me explain, like I said, let me explain you the science behind what feelings and not managing feelings does to us. So I think most of us would be aware that we basically have two minds in our head, right? Conscious and subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is responsible for 96% of what happens in our life on an everyday basis. So everything that you're doing, that you feel you're doing consciously, is basically a result of the subconscious beliefs you have, subconscious beliefs in a positive or a negative sense, the experiences that you've had ever since you were a kid. So it's consider your subconscious as like a repository of every single thing that you've experienced, you felt, the people you've met, be it you remember that or not, it's still there. And the things that sometimes we end up doing, but we don't realize as to why are we doing this, it just happens naturally, right? That is a product of our subconscious mind. Now, the very interesting thing about our subconscious mind is that since it literally directs our entire course of our life, it is very impersonal. Okay, so that what that means is that whatever you imprint on your subconscious mind, your life is going to take that path. So if there's a particular thing that gets imprinted on my subconscious in this moment, my subconscious is going to find different situations, different circumstances, and different emotions, different people to align with that imprint and to align with that particular feeling and then bring it about in your reality.
Okay.
Okay. And something gets imprinted on your subconscious. What exactly do I mean? How do you get anything imprinted on your subconscious? That is when the feelings come to play. Your feelings are the gateway to your subconscious. Okay. And that side of your brain does not understand or does not even know the difference between your reality right now and what you're playing it in your head. Okay, so this is where the visualization comes again into picture. When you visualize something and you mix that visualization with an aligned emotion, Okay, so if I'm just thinking here and picturing or imagining something, but there is no emotion attached, that's not going to be imprinted in my subconscious. But vice versa, if I do attach an emotion and I'm really feeling that thing, and so much that sometimes it literally brings a smile on my face, let's say, when I'm in that zone, the second that you feel that emotion is when it gets imprinted on your subconscious. And now, be it good or be it bad, it will get imprinted. And the second it does, you will start to see your reality start to shift towards that aligned emotion. Now, imagine if you did not have the control, or if you did not discipline your emotions, just imagine what that would do to your life. Because, like I said, like I could literally sit in this moment and think about a scenario that I want to accomplish in the future. Okay, but my subconscious, that side of my brain, is going to perceive that to be true in this moment, just because I have that emotion associated with it. And that does not mean that I'm going to get that thing, far-fetched thing, just like tomorrow or right now. That's not what it means. What it means is that it's going to start aligning opportunities for me. It's going to start aligning people and things in my life that's going to help me go there way faster if I was thinking otherwise. And overthinking and about what happens when we just tend to get in that zone and the past in the future. So this is where the concept of understanding comes in, that there is no past and there is no future. Your future, you of course you cannot you can plan for your future, but even a better thing that you can do is be conscious of the fact that you are creating your future right this second by thinking the emotions that you want to feel in the future. So, what that means again is whatever I want to experience in my life, I'm going to be feeling all those things in this moment, because this moment is what defines the next moment for me. And this is exactly how we consciously create our futures and our lives. So, where is the anxiety coming from, and where is the anxiety leading us anyway, right? Because that anxiety is only creating a future for us that we do not want to experience. It's as simple as that. That what you want to feel and what you want to experience, think about those things. And I know this is easier said than done, but we can at least take the first step. And the first step would be to, let's say, if I can feel myself being distracted or being swayed away by an emotion that's, sometimes it happens that a person just has a talk with us and we didn't like a particular something about that conversation, and we let it affect our mood so much that it then takes a toll on our entire day. So, what the first step here would be to just get conscious about the fact that, okay, I am feeling this way. But to be also conscious about the fact that I know I'm feeling this way, but I know that I have the power to change this feeling into whatever I want. And in that moment, then I decide that, okay, this is not what I want to feel. I want to feel something else. And to do that, simply put, I sometimes even do something as simple as just plug in my earphones, play some high vibe music, and again, just like take some time for myself, 5-10 minutes all by myself. And I'm back in that zone again where I want to be. And that's how I consciously shift my mood to how I want it to be. And that's why I've not had bad days in a long while, because now I know how to consciously shift my emotion. It can take a while, it can take few minutes to few hours, but it does, it always does.
Thank you, Ishpreet. And I mean, this is about how you kind of deal with that moment, and how do you kind of deal with uh, a subconscious, consciously doing different things, subconsciously, keeping things under carpet, not letting them up. Rishika, the next question to you: how to develop those habits that lead to physical well-being to help determine a healthy lifestyle, and how self-care is important for health.
Yes. So, when it comes to good habits, I think it's the very right time to be talking about this, since we've just crossed crossed the new year, 1st January, and we all have these goals. We all have these resolutions for ourselves, and we actually find ourselves motivated for some time. Maybe it's 1 week for me, maybe it's 1 month for you. But rest assured, by the time we hit March or April, we are kind of, in the air about whether we want to continue those resolutions or not. And why this happens is because the kind of habits, the kind of resolutions that we make are sometimes very extrinsically set rather than intrinsically set. So I think during the pandemic as well, there were so many trends going on. All of us were making dalgona coffees, all of us were baking banana breads, and it just caught on, and everybody wanted to jump on that bandwagon, and everyone was trying to cook or trying to do some hobby that they saw on social media. And this is why, we tend to flail after a little while following our habits, because they are not our habits, they are just fads, they are just trends that we're following. So I think that to develop good habits, it's extremely important to get in tune with your own self, to get in tune with what you like doing as a person. So one thing that I do and I would recommend everyone is to just take out a paper and a pen and write down the things that feel good to you. So if dancing feels good to you, write it down. If you think that cooking makes you feel good, write it down. So write down everything that you love doing and then set your habits around those things. So if you like writing, then set your habits according to that. Set your habits that, okay, I want to write, say, one thing every day, even if it's a quote or if it's a song or if it's a prose, just think about doing that each day. If you think getting fit is something that you like doing, it's something important to you, it's something valuable to you, then set your habits around those. And one way to develop these good habits is not to go in over your head and start writing your habits, I want to get abs in the next 3 weeks. Because that's not going to happen. That's an unrealistic goal. So your habits also need to be in terms of your capacity and your ability. So in addition to your interest, you also need to see your aptitude or your capability. So if your goal is to get fit, then is getting abs the only way to get fit? Or even if you want abs, is it the right habit? Maybe your habit rather should be reframed as, I will exercise every day for 30 minutes and I will control my diet in terms of reducing. Okay, so I don't know what you need to reduce to gain abs, but whatever it is, whatever feels good to you, you do that. So your goals and your habits should also be in, just a little bit above your capacity rather than being here or here. So these are two ways of setting habits. The third is also to set a time. So if you say that I'm going to take the full year to reduce 10 kgs, I mean, it's going to be an up and down from January till December. So set your time. In 3 months, I want to be here. In 3 months, I want to have developed some leadership skills. I want to have developed some writing skills, some speaking skills. So you set timings for your habit as well. And once you make these lists of things that you like doing, this is also your cheat sheet for self-care, because look at that list. It's everything that makes you feel happy. So if these are things that make you feel happy, you just need to find time to do those things. So like Miss Rachel said, and Miss Ishpreet also said that distraction works, or you shift your focus, you listen to songs that you like to get out of the bad state that you're in. So your cheat sheet is your ideas of how your distractions are going to work. So if you've written that, you like listening to songs, then every time you're feeling sad, you just need to look at that sheet of paper, choose one thing that you're going to do, and that's going to make you feel better. So I think this is extremely important. Being self-aware about your skills and about your interests is a great idea to both self-care and developing good habits for a good lifestyle. And I think gratitude has been talked about enough, so I won't focus on that. But one thing that I would like to focus on is optimism. We sometimes, just discard optimism as being a weakness, or being, ki, Are, ye to, she only thinks about happy things. And we confuse it with toxic positivity. But optimism is a way of living. It's a way of trying to find one meaningful thing, or one, not just even a happy thing, one interesting thing that happened to you perhaps in a day. So optimism for me, and I mean for a lot of people, optimism is the way that you regard your life situations, is the way you think about your life situations. So it's all about finding a silver lining, and that's about it. So even in the pandemic, I want you all to just take out a second and think about one good thing that came out of the pandemic. What is one good thing that you experienced? For me, I really learned cooking. I had no idea about cooking. Now I'm now I'm a great chef. And secondly, I mean, I started emo diet during the pandemic. So my journey of starting up, my journey of becoming something started during the pandemic. And years from now, I'm going to remember 2020 as the year I finally took my passion to reality. So just every day before sleeping, write down one thing or two things that went good in the day. It may be as simple as just, I got to spend more time with my mother today, or someone complimented me for my hair looked good. So just one simple thing that made you feel happy in the day, and there's your silver lining. So I think self-care and developing good habits and everything comes from being self-aware and being attuned to your own emotions and feelings. And those are my points about, personal growth and development, especially during the pandemic.
Thank you. And I think I was taking notes, write down, what do you like doing, and write down a couple of things which went well. Thank you for that, Rishika. And that tells, it's not with age, it's maybe with some life experiences, or of course some academic information about the subject matter which helps you evolve more. So I think that's why people say reading is a good habit. You find something. So thank you so much for this. And there are some questions from audience. One is I think overthinking has been talked about, so I would not take that better. But yes, Ishpreet, there is a question which I can ask you along with how to have a powerful morning, or incorporate a routine to kind of give a head start to how, and I'll include an audience question to that. Do I need to focus on exercising well to get better mental health scientifically? I don't know if that makes sense, and you could answer that.
Sure. So I think I'm going to incorporate two things here. One is the morning routine, and one is if the physical exercise bit is important, I feel. That's what the question is, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So the first thing about physical health, right? I feel physical health, I think, again, we've spoken about this, but physical health and physical exercise and any sort of workout. Firstly, it's not about going to the gym. It's not about having intensive 1 hour workouts. It's only about, it could be for 5 minutes, it could be just for 10 minutes. And workout, I'll tell you, so chill, how can it benefit you? Again, like I said, we've spoken about this. When you incorporate something like a physical aspect to your day, it automatically has that feel good factor, that is sent to your mind. Because try it out for all of the people who haven't really tried out working out in the morning, let's say, just try going for a jog or going for a run, or let's make it simple, not even that. I'm sure we all know what jumping jacks are, right? Just do 15 to 20 jumping jacks where you're standing right after you get out of your bed. That itself is going to help you suddenly feel so much more lighter, so much more positive, and it's just like it's that feel good feeling, okay, that it brings. And that's the only reason why I say that physical exercise, because it's directly proportional to your mental health, can do wonders to the way that you feel throughout your day. So even a few minutes here and there could really, really help you do that. Now, coming to the morning routine bit of this, I think a few things that I feel one can incorporate in their morning routine to not just feel a lot more better in terms of their headspace, but also when we talk about manifesting, but also in terms of getting clarity, in terms of your goals or visions, or the overall feeling that you have throughout the day. So the number one thing, I think I've talked about it, which is visualization. It's the most powerful practice that's out there because it's directly related to your subconscious, like I already said, right? So visualizing just for a couple of minutes in the morning, if it's not for a long term vision, just visualize what your day looks like. Okay, so in the morning, just picture how you want your day to look like. What kind of feelings do you want to feel? What kind of experiences do you want to have? Do you want to have a productive day? Just have that visualization, that picture in your mind every day for like 2 3 minutes, and then feel, and you will feel yourself how that kickstarts your day and how it makes you feel so different than the rest of your days. The second thing is affirmations, and even better, it's mirror work affirmations. When you stand in front of the mirror and you say these powerful statements, affirmations are nothing but short, powerful statements, generally that begin with I am, because again, I am is one of the most powerful phrases out there. um, your words basically have a frequency attached to it and a vibration attached to it. So when you have these words come out of your mouth, these vibrations reflect back to you and intend to make you feel a certain way. So try this out for yourself. When you say something like, I look nice, okay, something as simple as that. Or if you replace that with something like, oh, I look absolutely stunning today, okay, it has a different feel to it. And this is a very random example, I think, that I gave from the top of my mind. But try it out with absolutely anything. When you change the words, when you create these affirmations that really make you feel positive about it, it could be again as simple as that I am a very confident person, or I can achieve whatever I set my mind to. Just saying these things, standing in front of the mirror, or not the mirror is just an added advantage if you do. If you do, these words will slowly start to become and shape the reality. It will slowly start to have a very powerful effect on the way that you think about yourself. So just by saying that I'm a very confident person might not make you a confident person one day, but 10 days down the line, a month down the line, it's going to make you feel a lot more confident in yourself and a lot more good about this whole affirmation in general. And the third thing is journaling. So again, writing is a very powerful practice. And like Rishika was mentioning, just taking time to write the two things that went well in your day. It could be, so journaling could be anything. It could be what she said, or it could be writing down these affirmations that I just spoke about, or it could be writing down things that you're grateful for. Just combining all of this and making it a practice every single morning to write it down. Just write anything down that makes you feel good. Okay, that can have a massive impact on the way that you feel again. And when you club these three things, it's like a boom. It's a power packed morning routine just with these three practices that can shift your mood, that can shift your reality one day at a time, and that can make you feel so much more positive and happier in general.
Good. Thank you, Ishpreet. And Rachel, I'm gonna. So I also see in the chat board that a lot of our audience relates to what you all have been speaking, and some of them said they started a new course online, uh, and then engage physically with the program. And Rachel, I mean, I was reading chatbot, and I got a question from audience, and I also had to ask you a final question. So I'll club all this. How kind of when you are evolved, when you have exposure like this, when you study mental health, when you practice as a practitioner of mental health, or people come to you for mental health solution because you're an expert, or you're like Khushi, maybe Rishika or Ishpreet, who's kind of learned. It's a learned, either a learned subject of study or learned behavior, right? Because of the exposure of life very early, and they read about it and figured it out. For a layman, what is psychology and what is mental health, and how do they relate to a reaction to that, and how kind of they channelize it to all this knowledge which is dissipated here, kind of given here, and use it. How can they avoid procrastination? How can procrastination stop them? And that brings me to how you self love versus self critical. How you at times you could be self loving, and other you could be self critically, and in between are these emotions that you don't know what's happening to you, or you are saying, okay, I know this, I'll do it from tomorrow, and that never comes. So how would you kind of uh, transit from here to there?
Okay. Um, it is true that I think with I've also realized that after the pandemic started, something very interesting that I found is in that initial stage of the pandemic, there was a lot of conversations about mental health. So when people would tune into mental health, like pages or websites, they were being bombarded with a lot of terms, with a lot of concepts that seemed like, are there this many things that I do not know about? What are all these big words that are being thrown around? What is toxic positivity? Is it like, is it different from what I'm doing on a day to day basis? I think, very simply put, being emotionally healthy is just a state of balance. When you know that there is some space where you are not in tune with yourself. Now, we are all okay, we are knowledgeable about the physical. Right from childhood, we have been going to doctors, we know what a fever is, we know what an off day is, we know when we are tired, we're okay with reporting it. It's just getting into a familiar space where we are going to do the same for mental health as well. And we don't have to necessarily use these technical terms, but in just simply put, when you asked about self love and being self critical, right, again, those can be psychological terms that we study about, but it can also be something very simple that if you've received a rejection letter from a company, what do you do? Do you beat yourself about it and say that you will never get hired anywhere? Do you start predicting the future and say that you will never be able to support a family, and etc till the end of time? What do you do after you face all this? When you face a rejection, when you face a loss, what do you do? Do you reflect? Do you take it as a personal failure? Do you beat yourself about it? Do you demotivate yourself? Or do you blame yourself in the process? What do you do? Now, most of us, I think, being in a very competitive culture, right, and being in a very I think we call ourselves, it's a very collectivistic culture. India is, that's how we have been brought up. We don't uh, even if as children we would get beaten up by the neighbor's kid, and we come and tell our parents, I think most of us have been told that, did you do something wrong? Otherwise, why did the kid beat you? It's us. Or if even if the test paper was really difficult, the question that is asked to us is, you did not study well, right? You put in the effort harder. Now, this is okay. Some amount of anxiety and some amount of push is needed for the person to move on, right? But if it becomes self-critical, where you start really becoming your worst enemy when there is a failure or there is a loss, what eventually happens is the amount of reflection that you need to have to work through these failures and take the next step becomes a state where you lose confidence in yourself. And that is a phase where I find a lot of my clients where they feel they are not good enough, or they feel low in confidence, because every failure is taken as a reflection of the self. I didn't do enough. I have not been able to. It's me. It can't be anything else. No, we might verbally say, oh, it's the government, because, or it's this, or it's that, or it's the traffic. But inside, we are beating ourselves about it. So, self love, and I think Rishika touched upon self care. Self love and self compassion it's just, it's needs to be easy. How difficult can it be to love yourself? I mean, it's not somebody who you don't know, it's you. You just need to be kind to yourself. If you're having a bad day, it's okay. And if you're not able to take a class, that's fine. If you fail, say, okay, I it's okay, I failed, I need to accept it. What do I need to do next? But the criticalness that I see in people is, it's quite scary that at times we are our worst enemies, not those external factors that people come complaining about, that it's the that it's my family members that I can't deal with, that it's all of this. But we can be our worst enemies ourselves. So at this difficult time, when I spoke initially about factors that are under your control to deal with overthinking or anxiety, the easiest thing is to love yourself and to begin from there, because that's completely under your control, and to move on from that step towards accepting the situation and then being proactive about it rather than just reactive. A lot of people just react and spend a lot of time reacting, and they don't do anything about it. So that's the next step. Self awareness, I think we have covered this already. So self awareness, being kind to ourselves, and after the reaction there has to be an action, otherwise we'll not get anywhere. So I've tried to explain this using the least amount of technical terms possible. I hope that was okay.
Thank you so much. I think, it's no, since everybody would know themselves, it's sometimes good to accept that everything is right. And sometimes I also figure out that if there is something not right, how we can fix it. And first, that we need to fix it, that we need to fix something, but not everything is right with everybody, anybody for that matter. And what pandemic has brought to foray is this, like Rachel just mentioned, that in the beginning a mental health thing, but it hasn't gone away. So Khushi, what do you think has happened in the pandemic to mental health uh, being recognized, or a mental health scenario in India or worldwide? How would you put it, Khushi?
Yeah. So before I answer this, I also wanted to, if I can, I wanted to answer this question that had been raised earlier about if there is a scientific explanation to physical exercise being related to mental health.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah. So Ishpreet already answered that. She said how even like it does not mean going to the gym, even 5 minutes of exercise can result in a great difference in our mood. So I just want to add a little bit to that. So, from a scientific perspective, when you exercise, your body releases these neurotransmitters like endorphins and dopamine, which is also called as the happy hormone. So, when you exercise, that is why. So, these because our body releases these hormones, you immediately feel good. So there is a scientific explanation behind why you feel good after you exercise. But this exercise is not a replacement to therapy. So exercising does not mean all your mental health issues immediately go away. It is a good adjunct to therapy, but it does not replace therapy. So yeah, so just wanted to clear that.
Okay.
And answering the question that you asked me, how the pandemic has transformed the mental health scenario. So I think all of us already mentioned how the pandemic has increased, in the pandemic, a lot of people have started talking about mental health. They started prioritizing their own mental health. There have been a lot of active discussions about the same. So that just the fact that people have started talking about their mental health, they've become aware of their mental health, is a significant step in the transformation of mental health as a profession. And I know a few years ago, people did not even know what psychology really means. People, even now, a lot of people come to me when I tell them I'm studying psychology, they think that I can read their minds, which is not what psychology is. So there was a lot of misinformation around the whole psychology and mental health scenario. And the pandemic, this 1 year, has led to a lot of people becoming aware of what psychology is, what mental health actually means. So that is a great step for this field. And in the last year, a lot of people had come to me inquiring about a profession in this field, and inquiring about where they can go to seek therapy. So that itself is like a great step a baby step towards taking care of their mental health. And I for one started my mental health page during the pandemic, and so has Hrishika. She started emo diet during the pandemic, and a lot of other people also started actively talking about the subject during the pandemic. So just the recognition and awareness of this field has increased a lot. There's been a surge because of the isolation during the pandemic. It led to a lot of mental health issues in people, a lot of challenges that people were going through, so which encouraged them to seek therapy. And one uh, very important thing that happened in the pandemic was the increase in televirtual counseling. A lot of people, because obviously they could not step out of home, they could not like meet people in person, a lot of people started seeking therapy online. So the fact that the online counseling field has shown a lot of improvement, and it's only going to improve in the future. Although online counseling uh, is not a foolproof plan for counseling, it is a great substitute, because a lot of people who cannot travel to counselors, people who live in remote areas who do not have accessibility, it is a good substitute for them, to seek counselors online. And online does not always mean a video conference; it can also mean text message, a lot of email, counseling over mails. So all of that is also increased. So yeah, so as I said, just the recognition and awareness of the field has increased, which has led to a lot of people seeking therapy and taking care of their mental health. So that is why pandemic has, transformed the mental health scenario as a whole.
Thank you so much, Khushi. Rishika, one line on what did help, what did you like about today's talk? One line maybe.
So
Or
I
what
think,
what do you say?
yes, so I think what I really liked was, listening to so many opinions, but all of them focusing and prioritizing on self. And, this workshop, this webinar, what it did for our viewers and for me also, is it somewhere emphasizes that self care is not selfish, and we need to take time out every day to take care of ourselves, to prioritize our mental health. And mental health need not be some very big thing. It's small steps that we can take every day. And there's one line that I live by, and I wanted to add that to Miss Rachel's answer to the question that you asked earlier. I think it's very important to not beat ourselves down, yes, but we need to be our own biggest cheerleaders. That's what I emphasize everywhere to every person, that until you are cheering for yourself, you will not feel that positivity, you will not feel that happiness or that mental health or self care that you need to. So I think the takeaway from today's workshop, this webinar, should be to now start talking to yourself in a way which shows to yourself that you love yourself, that you are ready to take care of yourself. And that is what most mental health talks are about. So I think, yes, that is one important takeaway.
Wow, that was a lot of positive information today. I take this opportunity to thank Rachel, you, Rishika, Khushi, and Ishpreet. And I think each of those questions could have been a webinar in itself. And I'm sure we will have more opportunities to do that. And because this need is not gonna go away, the scenario has brought underscored the need of mental health, taking care of our minds with some good mind food apart from the food for the body, which is required and to bring best out of us. And on this note, I thank all of you, and uh, on behalf of MentorMitr, that to make it such a memorable event. And I think more and more people will benefit from the recording on YouTube. So thank you so much. Over to the MC, Nidhi.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your views, valuable advice, and insights with us on this subject. Our friends listening are surely feeling more informed about the subject and how they can change their approach towards various aspects. It has become absolutely necessary to manage our lifestyle in this pandemic as most of us have forgotten about it. So, I would like to thank all our speakers as well as the audience for giving us your time and support. Thank you for attending and engaging in today's session with us, and hope to see you next Sunday. So, lastly, I would like to repeat the steps to avail the e certificate. You are required to attend the full webinar. Once you see the thank you displayed on the screen, there will appear a link to the Google attendance form in the chat box. Click to mark your attendance and get the feedback form emailed. Fill the questionnaire that you receive on your mail for the details. Follow our page on Instagram and Facebook. If the above stated steps are followed, an e certificate will be automatically mailed to you. You can contact us through any of the above mentioned platforms with your question, feedback, and suggestions. Thank you.